following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
1420 Sports Bar Podcast, for beer and sports talk and a whole lot more. Join host Brent Radlinsky as he bellies up to the bar and gets the conversation going that'll make you think you're sitting in your local watering hole. It's sports, beer, and shenanigans, so sit back, grab a few beers, and let's get in. 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, for beer, sports talk, and a whole lot more. Today's show, as always, is brought to you by SeatGeek.com and the SeatGeek app. Use promo code BELLYUP at checkout and save yourself $20 on your first purchase over there at SeatGeek. Remember, we're part of that same Belly Up Media Network. Go to bellyupsports.com for all their great articles and other great podcasts. It's no credentials required. The Corner Booth podcast, my guys over there at Craft Brewed Sports, Sports Stove, and many others as well. And thank you everybody who subscribed to the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast YouTube channel and listens to the podcast on all that stuff and checks out the Radlinsky's ramblings over there at the 1420sportsbar.com for some other stuff that I fool around with. Anyways, the Super Bowl, it's set. Eagles, Chiefs, they all got decided championship last Sunday. The first game obviously wasn't much of a game with the Commanders, the Lionel Richie and the Commodores, and the Eagles. And then, of course, the second game that we'll get to in half a second with the Chiefs and the Bills, and all the conspiracy theories abound with that. But they got a week off in between the big game and the championship game to rest their bones. And I think the NFL is hoping for a great big game, great Super Bowl. It's I'm not a big fan of the extra week off. I don't think it's needed. I think that I understand that you want to have the best combatants and the best teams and everybody rested. There's no question about who wins, but I also think that professional sports, the getting into it and getting after it is a factor. A few weeks back, they said I think it was Ryan over at No Credentials Required. He put up on the Twitter machine what was the hardest trophy to win in professional sports, and I said without a doubt it's the National Hockey League and the Stanley Cup. Just for the simple fact is you don't have a bunch of time in between games. The only time you get a bunch of time off is if you sweep the series and you have to go on to the next one, or you get a week off to rest your bones. And if the other team gets their series done or doesn't get their series done, they go 7. Whereas the NFL, you got to win 4 games max. If you got to play in the wild card game. In the NHL, you have to win 4 rounds and you got to win four games, and it's just back to back to back to back. You got to keep going, and the perseverance of the National Hockey League players compared to the NFL players to win themselves a Super Bowl, it's a lot different, and I think it's a lot tougher to win 4 rounds, obviously, than it is to win 4 games. It's a different sport, different combatants, but the physicality of a hockey, that when it gets to the NHL and it gets to Stanley Cup playoffs, it gets a lot more physical, a lot more reckless, a lot more everything to try to win the Stanley Cup. So I don't think it's even close. That one trophy to win is compared to the other. The Lombardi Trophy, yes, it's hard to win. I get that, but winning a Stanley Cup is a lot tougher, in my opinion. I don't know why I even got to this, but yeah, the week off for me, it's a big waste of time for fans, for everything else. I understand why they do it. Gets more ratings and more juice and everything, and they got to have that Pro Bowl crap. I was sitting watching that the Pro Bowl skills competition. I think it was on Thursday night, and they had the quarterbacks throwing at the targets, the moving targets. What a steaming pile of boring crap that was. I was at the Water Tower Grill having a beer and after work the night, and it was just on. I didn't put it on purpose, but it was just on, and I was trying to be engaged in that steaming pile of crap. But holy, why people would pay to watch that is a mystery to me. I know I'm not a football apologist. I'm not the biggest football fan, but that was that wasn't anything entertaining. And I don't find skills competitions all that exciting. The one that was in hockey used to be kind of cool back 20 some years ago, 30 years ago now, I guess, when they first got that going with the hardest shot competition, breakaways, and now they've kind of gotten away from that. And I enjoy what the baseball's done with the home run competition. With the speed clock, and that's changed things a little bit. I'd like to see a few more events in the skills competition at the MLB All-Star game, and the NBA one. Well, we all know about the NBA. It's okay. The dunk thing it's okay, but a lot of the best players don't participate. But anyways, let's get back to last weekend's AFC Championship game. The Bills, the Chiefs. it didn't take long for all the conspiracy theorists, even before the game got to halftime. The conspiracy theories were running wild. There was a lot about the officiating, about the fix was going to be in, the fix was in, and there is a lot of bad optics for sure when it comes to the National Football League and the way that game played out. It was interesting to watch that game. I actually paid attention to that one a little more than I usually do. I was down here in the Yankee Tavern North watching that game with some pretty good interest. It was entertainment. You had the two best teams, in my opinion. I mean, the Eagles are going to, obviously, with Barkley, going to be a very tough out next weekend for the Chiefs. But the two best teams were going head to head with two best quarterbacks in the league. We're going head to head. Yes, Mahomes isn't in the MVP running, but he's the best player on the planet, and that's indisputable in my opinion, until somebody beats him. And I said that way back before the season started, when I was on the Corner Boot podcast with Jared and the guys, saying that basically all this crap that we're talking about for, can these guys get, like, what to expect from this quarterback, what to expect from this team, what to expect from that team, and I say it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you want to accept, and all these prognosticators and analysis and everything else, and these part-time analysis like we are on podcasts like this. I think I said it best, a little pat in the back for myself. But basically, until somebody beats Mahomes and beats the Chiefs and can knock Andy Reid, the best coach in football right now, until someone can knock those guys off the pedestal, what's it matter? All this other stuff is just filler talk for nothing, and nobody's been able to do it yet. Did they get some help from the officials? Maybe. Are the optics bad for the NFL having them get in? Yeah, it didn't look good, but let's just get into it. That the catch by Xavier Worthy in the near the end of the second half, or the first half in the second quarter there, how that got blown by the replay officials and then the officials on the field is a mystery to me. I'm sitting down in my basement, a few beers deep, watching that game, and I said, when the play was live, I said, that's not a catch. If anything, it was an interception with the way it kind of played out. But then you watch it, the ball hits the ground. How nobody saw that and how that didn't get overturned is it's a bad optics, a bad look for the National Football League, for their officials, for their off-field officials, for the replay guys, for whoever does their HD wiring, everything. It was a horrible look. That ball hit the ground, obviously, so it should not have been a reception, and that changed how the first half ended. It shouldn't have been that. The Bills were rolling a little bit. It was not a catch. If anything, it was an interception, in my opinion. And I saw that right off the bat, like I said. So that was the first one that you got your eyeballs rolling. Later on, obviously, there was the play that the 4th and inches that the Allen tried for the sneak. They didn't get it, and it was a really bad look. The one official said yes, another one said no, and then that's it. And they can't really go upstairs. And then how they don't have a chip or some kind of technology, and how they're still using chains and everything else to decide this, because an inch here, an inch there, it could be. It's just a matter of opinion of where the ball got to. It's not an official. There's no way that some older guy, not to besmirch officials, but some older guy on the sidelines can see to the millimeter. That's a unit of measurement up here in Canada for all my American listeners, but how they can see to the millimeter, and that's what it came down to, was to a quarter inch basically of where that ball was spotted. How these guys can see it and then run down the field and say, yeah, that's where it was, especially when there's a massive humanity like there was. And then Josh Allen's not a big guy, and you have one guy on the other side of the field, another guy on this side of the field, and have an opposing call. I guess they should have went to the third guy and then flipped the coin. Really, that's what it came down to. One guy said yes, one guy said no, and that's not how a democracy works, because if you have the same number of votes, where does it go? Right? So you had to have somebody else say it. And so how they can just use chains and have it, and have this like the multi-billion-dollar machine that the National Football League deciding a mega play like this and a chance to knock off the champions, and how it's decided by some official that can't really see what the play is and have a objective view of something. It doesn't make sense to me, and it's a bad optics look. And of course, that call went against the Buffalo Bills, because that's what everybody, and it's just the way it is, and it's the way things go, and it just feeds to the tinfoil hat wearers about this conspiracy theory that the NFL is rigged. I don't think it's rigged. I mean, it's. We'll get to another play. There was also that the Kelsey was in the end zone taunting. He probably should have had a flag thrown against him. Yes, the emotions run a little bit higher in the playoffs, so maybe officials just let those ones go, and maybe officials aren't going to throw a flag on some ticky tack guy, being excited about something because if it's against your team, like I said last week, I think it was when it's a call against your team, do you want it in the first game of the season or in the fourth quarter of the 10th game, and do you call it the playoffs? There's ticky tack calls that you don't want calling against your team, so you can't think that someone was going to want to call against their own team. If you kind of catch my drift there. So there's different ways of officiating a game, and especially when it comes down to objective or subjective calls. Is a penalty a penalty? Sure. If you want it called that way, then call it. But you just can't for the feel of the game because you don't want officials getting involved in the game to that extent. But that's on a call. And then football, basically, you could call a hold every bloody play if you wanted to. So do you want to call every single time? Probably not. Any fan of any sport doesn't want the officials to decide the game. We'll go right back to what Jim from the Fan of the Van says. We're right back to what Garrett and Jalen say over at 2 News of Sports News, talking about if you don't want the referee to decide the game, then don't let them decide the game. And if it comes down to officiating and complaining about that, it's a rookie move. It's a rookie move, and the Bills staff was still doing it yesterday at the time of this recording, so on Friday. So they were still complaining about it. And it's like, you know what? If you score more points, don't give up points. Don't give up 32. Yeah, they held Mahomes to X amount of yards and everything else, but they still gave up 32 points. You still gave up 32. So what do you complain about? Is that the officials' fault? Probably not. Probably not their fault. Score more points. And then that 4th and inches play that everybody's talking about where he didn't gain any yards, do something different. Like, don't just try to bulldoze your way through. Yeah, you're a massive man, Josh Allen, but try something a little bit different. If you need an inch, why only get an inch? Get more. Get more. It obviously didn't work. And you see that in football all the time. Like, try something a little bit different. Pitch it to the outside. Go around an option play or something. Do something other than just trying to do that. Try the old tush push, which is a whole bunch of feathers, not much chicken last weekend that I saw. Although they ended up putting up a ton of points against the Commanders, the Commodores. But I thought it was a poor execution. And if they wanted to get more yards and get the first down, guarantee it, they would have got it. And and then the rest of the NFL, these fans, they've really got to stop thinking about all this Taylor Swift crap. I mean, I'm not a Swiftie, and she gets a lot of airplay on this show and every other show across the nation, but the NFL doesn't need Taylor Swift to, there are some more fans who are watching the game, but she's not bringing in a ton of money. She's not bringing in any money. She's at the game, enjoying it, watch with her family, to watch her boyfriend play football, and that's it. And the amount of time that she's actually on the screen is pretty minimal if you put a stopwatch on it. And it's no different than Jack Nicholson was on TV with the Lakers back in the 80s and the 90s. So to have these conspiracy theories saying that the NFL wants Taylor Swift there, they don't care. Whoever's watching the game, people are watching no matter what. People are watching, and then these other people saying they're going to boycott the Super Bowl because the Chiefs are in and the fix is in. You know what? You're an idiot. Don't watch. You know what? The NFL doesn't care. They don't care if this guy that guy watches. It don't mean nothing. They got their $1 billion deals from networks anyway, so it doesn't matter. So people really got to stop doing that. And this conspiracy theory stuff, it's got to end. It's really got to end because the score finished 32-29, and there was that late scramble where Allen was running around all over the place, and he just heaved it up, and Dalton Kincaid dropped the ball. If Kincaid catches that ball, they go and score, or they tie it up, or whatever it might have been. We aren't talking about any of this conspiracy theory crap. None of it. It's not even entering our realm of chat at all this week from anybody. If Kincaid catches that ball, the Bills go on to win. Who's talking about conspiracies? Nobody. The Bills just didn't play good enough to win to win the football game. That's what it comes down to. There were some calls that went against them. Yep. There were some calls was there more calls against them? Yep. But you know what? You know what good teams do and well-coached teams do in every sport? In every sport, they don't take penalties. And maybe that's what the deciding factor is, that the Chiefs are just better coached. that he's just a better coach all around. That Andy Reid is just a better coach, and they're a more disciplined team that has an outstanding quarterback, that had been an outstanding team that's on the precipice of winning. It's a big word for Saturday morning. They're on the precipice of being the first team to ever win 3 in a row. Maybe it's just as simple as that. Maybe all this other crap you conspiracy theories people are talking about don't know what you're talking about. That because they're just a better coach team with an elite quarterback that's going to win how many Super Bowls in a row? Could be his 3rd one in a row, 4th overall. He's pushing past GOAT status. He's pushing past Brady status the way he's rolling. He's young, right? Like, and he'll just keep going and going and going until somebody beats the man. You be the man, right? The old Ric Flair saying. So all this other conspiracy theory crap, it's just got to go away. It's just got to go away because if you know how you win games, you play better. You don't take penalties. You don't make stupid calls. You don't do stupid things. You play better on a daily basis, minute to minute. You dominate at every facet of the game, and you don't leave it in the officials' hands. If you're worried about the official screwing you, don't leave it in the officials' hands. Pretty simple. Don't take dumb penalties. Simple. Was it a bad call on that reception in the first half? Yep. Real bad call. Really bad call. That changed the outcome of the game? Maybe. But the Bills came back and took the lead. So what are we doing? What are we doing? Make a stop. Make a stop, Buffalo. I think it comes down to that. Buffalo you're playing against Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes. And until someone beats him, and it could happen next week with Saquon Barkley the way he's rolling for the Eagles. It could happen next week. But so far it hasn't. He steps up. They had 2 losses this season, I think it was. One at the end of the year when they didn't really mean anything. They weren't playing anybody. So they're basically a 1-loss team. That's hard to do. That's hard to do. Do they get calls? Yeah, that's what championship teams do. They get the benefit of the doubt. And until you're that championship team, you're not getting the benefit of the doubt, especially when there's subjective calls. And that's what most calls in football are. Is this a hold? Yeah. Is that one? Well, not as much. Is this a penalty? Well, yeah, but then we'd have to call it all the time, and nobody wants to see a flag fest. Was that taunting? Yeah, well, it was, but emotions run a little bit higher in the playoffs. Like all these conspiracy theories that they want how hard would it have to be? Like how many players are on the average NFL roster? 60? Like, I don't know. So 60 times how many teams? So, and then how many officials? Then how many TV people are behind the scenes? And how many everything? How many owners? Do you know how many people it would take to hide this conspiracy theory? To have, like, Oliver Stone couldn't uncover this like he did in JFK. Like, you think about how hard it would be for the fix to be in and nobody actually talk about it. Like you can have all the NDAs you want. If it's in your contract, I don't know, maybe it is. Maybe it is. I don't think so. But you know how hard it would have to be to get all these people to shut their yaps, to say that there's a fix that's in the National Football League. Think how hard that would have to be to get that many people to not uncover the alleged truth. It's ridiculous. It's your team just lost to a better team. That's it. Did they get some calls? Yeah, but all great championship teams do. You look at the basketball over the years, it's been happening for years. Happening for years. Hockey, for sure. For sure. Great players get calls. Great players, they massage the nuts of officials all the time. They find a way to complain just enough. They get calls because that's what great players do. Great players find ways to win, whether it be with their feet, with their hands, with their arms, and with their minds. And they're screwing these. And if it's just a mind screw that they're giving these, see, I'm trying not to swear here in the 1420 Sports Bar podcast, 4 Beer Sports talking a whole lot more. But if they're finding a way, they find ways to win. And if they can stay out of the penalty box, they can stay with the flags off the field. That's what great teams do. And that's what great players do. And that happened again last weekend. The Chiefs found a way to win. Did they take it? And they took advantage of calls. That's what great. They take advantage of the opportunities given them. That's all they do. They take advantage of these chances, and then they win football games. Who cares if you win by 3, you win by 2, you win by 22? Nobody cares. As long as you're hoisting that trophy at the end of it, that's all that matters. And you find a way to do it. You find a way to do it, and that's what the Chiefs did. It's not a conspiracy. It has nothing to do with Taylor Swift. It has nothing to do with the officials. Nothing. Did they blow some calls? Yeah, they blow calls all the time, all season long. That's what officials do. Should there be other ways to do it? Microchips in the ball, bing, bing, boom. Yeah, see you later. That's probably the best way. How they don't have that already, I do not know. They allegedly put a man on the moon a long, long time ago. There's chips in everything. They know exactly where I am right now. Well, I tell everybody where I am right now, but like your phone has a sensor in it. I'm sure they could find a way to put it in a football. That's not expensive. And who cares what the price is? I think, yeah, who cares? Like and the tradition, well, you have the chain gang. Screw that. Get the call right. And I haven't always been the biggest proponent of replay. I kind of was always, let them get it right and let them or let the officials be the third team on the field and may the best man win and the team that it's all part of it, and a bad call is part of the game and a good call is part of the game. But now with the betting and how much is at stake and the different camera angles that you're privy to, making sure the best team wins, that's probably the most important thing. So having instant replay, you know what, and make it perfect, make it 100% perfect, because then there's none of this BS talk about conspiracies. Make it perfect, and the NFL has so much money. Whatever they're doing and how many footballs they got to use throughout a game, whatever they got they could put lasers or whatever. Lasers, Jewish space lasers. Remember that whole deal last year with old Margie Green? My gosh, she's dumb like this, but whatever. But get something on get it right, get it perfect, and have it flawless. And then all these conspiracies can just go away, because that's all they are, is just people talking about stupid crap. It ain't about Taylor Swift. It ain't about Patrick Mahomes. It is about Mahomes. He's the best player on the planet. It's about them winning. They're just a better football team. They find a way to win. They get it done on a year-to-year basis, and don't be surprised they do it again next week. And then it'll be a full off season again of Taylor. It's the Taylor Swift effect. Is it? No, it's not. She has nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. She's like less than nothing. Maybe or maybe she's keeping Kelsey happy. That might be it. A positive influence on a team. She's a positive person. So maybe that's what the Taylor Swift effect actually is. Just being positive and going out and winning football games, because that's what the Chiefs do, and they've done it better than anybody else in recent memory. So all this other crap needs to just stop, because it ain't true. It's not true. The NFL doesn't care who wins. They know people watch no matter what. Ratings are huge no matter what. Did more people watch it? Probably. My sister said she did with my niece last weekend. They're going to sit down and watch the Swifty Fest. Does it bring more people in? Yeah, not that many. It doesn't change. It doesn't change the effect of the game at all. Conspiracies, no. Buffalo, you just lost. Kincaid catches that ball. He catches that ball. They their minimum field goal tied it up. Minimum. He catches that. We're not talking about any of this other crap. They do something else in that 4th and inches, we probably aren't talking about this other crap. Do something different. That was a bad play call to try to get an inch. If you need an inch, you better get a foot. Don't leave it in the officials' hands, because you know what? If you leave it in their hands, they're probably going to screw you, and you probably weren't going to win anyways. Or they're not screwing you. You're just finding an excuse to say you got screwed, and that's all that happened. Bad optics? Yeah, bad optics for sure. It is. It looks real bad that they get the calls, and the percentages are there. But good coach teams don't take penalties, and that's all that is. That's all it is. Anyways, 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, 4 Beer Sports Talk, and a whole lot more. Come back with a little bit of NHL talk, and that's what a mess that is out in Vancouver. It finally got solved last time. Anyways, here's a word from our sponsor over at Righteous Felon Jerky. Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at righteousfelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon Jerky. The 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, for beer sports, talking a whole lot more. This segment's brought to you by Righteous Felon Jerky and righteousfelon.com. Go to Righteous Felon, get the best in craft jerky, and use promo code BELLYUP for 15% off the best craft jerky in the land. And National Hockey League, it's wild and woolly. There's a salary caps going up. We'll talk about that in half a second. Then there's trades and everything happening about out in Vancouver, and that mess kind of maybe came to a close yesterday when the New York Rangers had acquired JT Miller, reacquired him. That's who originally drafted him, reacquired JT Miller from the Canucks to put an end to the drama that went out in Vancouver for the last few months. It's crazy to think how this whole thing turned out. This week, the past week, the ownership group and then the management group of the Vancouver Canucks basically came out and blasted both of these players for saying that they're wasting a season and saying, we give you guys a lot of money, we give other players a lot of money, you waste an entire season for us. They're still in a playoff spot thanks to Quinn Hughes, man. That guy should be if the Canucks get into the playoffs, he should definitely be an MVP candidate, because with all this mess going on behind the scenes and the drama that's unfolding, he's still able to do what he does on a nightly basis and keep this team not just out with his skill as a player, but maybe his leadership ability as a captain. It can't go unnoticed. But the ownership group basically was disgusted with these grown men acting the way they did and tearing this team apart. And so Miller's out the door, as everybody kind of thought he would be. Older guy, no trade clause. He got that waived yesterday and he's off, and then see you later. They did Pettersson's a younger guy, a long-term deal, so they kind of had to stick with him. I still think that they're going to trade him as well, because now you have a dressing room divided. Brock Besser put out a note saying goodbye to his buddy JT Miller on Instagram. So you have sides no matter what. We've talked about it here a time or two, and other people have talked about it as well. You're going to have a dressing room divided, and now that Miller's gone, you're going to have the Miller camp probably a little bit upset with Pettersson, but with the deal's done, and now you see what the Canucks can do and see if they can salvage their season somehow. They're not a better team without Miller on it, so I don't know how they're going to get through this. The move helps the Rangers a lot, but then there's also some stuff going on behind the scenes with Miller that wasn't all that was hindering his on-ice performance. You remember he took a bit of a mental health break. We're not really sure exactly. There's some rumors that I've heard from out that way that I won't repeat, because I don't want to be a rumor mill conspiracy theorist, and because I'm not on the inner working, but just people have told me some different stories, people that are out in Vancouver that I've talked to, that there's some stuff. But he's gone, and he's done with the Canucks, and it's too bad. And it always seems to happen out in Vancouver, the way they get rid of players, the way they get rid of coaches, and all the behind the scenes drama that they have out there. I know other teams have it, but the way it gets aired publicly is really strange. It can't be because they have maybe it's because it's the only sports team out there, but just the way that all the dirty laundry gets aired eventually out there in Vancouver, and the way they get rid of coaches and people, and it's just really strange. It's from Trevor Linden being let go all those years ago, and the mess that was the Vancouver Canucks, and then how Luongo was let go, traded, and just on and on. Brucey Boudreau a couple of years ago when he was let go as the coach, and just how it always ends up in Vancouver. It's always just a strange scenario they got out there. But we'll see how that ends up with the Canucks, and are they a playoff team? Probably not. They might squeak in, but how much damage can they do? And it's really strange to think where this team was a year ago compared to what they are now. They're a worse hockey team on the ice, or a worse hockey team off the ice, and how they ended up to go from one level to the other just with two players arguing. It's not a good look for a Vancouver Canucks organization or a hockey club. But that's it's all said and done. We'll see how it all turns out. Funny story. Like I got a kick out. It was last Saturday, I think it was, when Alex Pietrangelo of the Vegas Golden Knights, you said, I'm not going to be playing in the Four Nations Cup. It's ailments there that are hindering him to perform at the level he wants to get to. Went out and played 24 minutes that night for the Golden Knights. So basically, it's already the exodus of players. You wonder how many more in the coming week or so before this Four Nations Cup gets going. How many of these players are going to say, yeah, you know what, maybe a week off in Cabo San Lucas or something might be a better deal for me, or a week off here might be a better deal for me than playing in a non-consequential term that nobody cares about, where ticket sales are from all sources have been quite bad. They'll probably lower prices before the tournament starts, but you don't hear a lot of talk. I know they named Sidney Crosby, big news. They named Sidney Crosby as the captain for Team Canada. Austin Matthews, which I thought was kind of weird, the captain for for Team USA. I thought it should have been Hughes, but they made Austin Matthews. He's kind of a bigger name to face the Toronto and on how it goes. But this Four Nations Cup has zero juice at all. Like I said before, I'll watch it, but I could care less. I'm not going to be putting on my Team Canada jersey and changing my work schedule to come make sure I watch a game of these four teams. It doesn't interest me at all. It's ridiculous how it's even a thing. NHL's committed to going to the Olympics in a couple of years, so that's when it gets going for real again. This Four Nations Cup. It doesn't even compare to years ago how the Canada Cup was and that. So it's a way different thing. It's not even really a passing of the torch like you saw that Connor McDavid was asked about the Gretzky Lemieux Canada Cup in 1987. Basically, man, I wasn't even a thought in '87. Like how old were Matthew's parents in '87? Not Matthew McDavid, sorry. How old were McDavid's parents in '87? Probably my age, right? So they weren't thinking about kids in '87. So I know when you're an NHL superstar like that, you do have a bit of you're a bit of an encyclopedia. So he obviously knows who the Gretzky, and I assume he knows about the '87 Canada Cup and the best of three series with the Russians. That was pretty much Lemieux's coming out as a superstar in that tournament. And so you had a couple of guys, but McDavid was asked about playing with Crosby for the first time in this best on best competition, which is still not a best on best competition because you don't have the Russians playing, and so yeah, or Germany for that matter with Leon Draisaitl. So you got to think that. Yeah, it's a thing. I mean, it's going to be kind of neat to see those two out there, but how much juice is it going to have? How much competition is there actually going to be? I don't know. I think it's a big waste of time for anybody to watch that thing. If they want to watch it, I'm not going to tell you not to watch it, but it just seems to be a big load of crap. And I was listening to something yesterday, and the Oilers GM Stan Bowman was on TV, and they were talking about Germany not playing in this thing, and it might be the biggest blessing. It's not the Five Nations or Six Nations Cup, and Germany's not playing because now their best player this season's been Leon Draisaitl because there's been some injuries to McDavid and the suspension, and his production is still the best player on the planet, but right now how good Draisaitl's been, so he's going to have a couple of weeks off to rest and relax his bones and go into a playoff run and hopefully bring the Oilers a Stanley Cup. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise for the Oilers where their best players aren't going. And I think there's going to be a lot more players. I mean, if I was an owner, I know you have to because of the NHLPA and it's revenue for the league, the TV money that they're getting. So the owners do get that. I know you do got to be part of it, but a lot of these owners, I'll bet they're thinking, man, oh man, it's good that this guy's from country A or country B and isn't playing in this thing. Or I wonder how many guys are going to come up with sudden injuries or illnesses that weren't detectable. The old back injury, you can't X-ray a bad back, right? So you wonder how many guys are going to come up with injuries at the last minute. Go, you know what, I'm good. I'd rather have a couple of weeks off and not really battle this thing. And taking the break off of the season, I don't like it. It lengthens the season more than it has to, and I'm not a big fan of the whole thing. But it's crazy that it's going to happen. But the other big news that came out yesterday, it got leaked out before the Four Nations Cup, was the salary cap's going to be going up the better part of $30 million over the next 3 years. And there's a lot of free agents are probably licking their lips right now thinking, man, I could get paid a lot of more money that I wasn't going to get paid. Next year, I think the aforementioned Leon Draisaitl is making a $14 million guy. There's going to be some players who are going to make more money than that. And he's probably one of the top 4 players on the planet right now, but they're going to get paid a lot more than Draisaitl will, just because the way it's all fallen down into the cracks for these guys to take advantage of the new salary cap. That's the salary cap's only going to, I think it's only going to help the big boys like the Rangers, the Leafs. Yeah, the Oilers have some money, but the Oilers also are a little bit hamstrung with where they are geographically. But you also have two of the best players. You might get a few guys who want to just go there for that reason. But it's going to help out a lot of these larger market teams. The smaller market teams are going to take a beat. And it's kind of funny that everybody's calling for a salary cap in baseball, but you look at the salary cap in hockey with it going up. Is it going to help the small market teams? Probably not. Probably not, because there's only X amount of dollars for some of these teams, right? Like $120 million to a baseball team or a basketball team or a football team is nothing, but to a hockey player, it's a lot. So you have a lot of different different money being spent, and it's not going to go to the lower end guys, and it's not going to go to the Utahs of the world, although their new owner has some deep pockets as well, or it's not going to go to the Calgarys of the world, or the Winnipegs of the world, or the who else do you want to talk about in the National Hockey League, or the Nashvilles of the world? Yeah, these owners got money, but because the NHL is such a gate driven league, they don't have that kind of money. The buildings are smaller, obviously. So this salary cap isn't really going to help the NHL, in my opinion. It's going to help out a few players. It's going to allow a few owners to loosen their purse strings a little bit, but it's not going to help everybody. It's not going to help everybody. It's going to be a few players that's going to assist, a few teams going to assist, but in general, it's going to be a hindrance, I think, because there's a lot of teams just don't have the dough to do it. The Anaheims of the world just don't have the dough to do it, although Disney and everything, but they just don't have the money stream to do it. And so, is this a good thing for the league? Yeah. Is it probably expansion coming? Probably. Is there new TV deals coming? Yes. So there is more money coming in, but I don't think expansion should come either. I think if anything, should we retract some teams, go back to 21. There's a lot of players that we've talked about all the time. I see that there's a lot of players that shouldn't be in the National Hockey League. There's too many teams and not enough good players. And now you have less good players coming in that are going to be making a lot of money because there's money there. So it's I don't know if I like it. I'm not against people making money at all. I'm not against people. I'm not against people getting paid. I'm not against athletes getting paid. I never have been. I never will be. I think they're underpaid considering how much these guys make. But I also don't think that there's some players that should be making should be just getting a blank check, like you're going to see maybe Mitchie Marner get in Toronto, because all of a sudden his contract's up, and then now there's new numbers that are going to say, well, we can give you more and take, because that's what these guys have done in Toronto. You look at Nylander, Marner, because Marner wouldn't have got that deal anywhere else that he has right now. Is he going to make? And so he'll make more money than Draisaitl will. And that's a weird deal to get. Like, and it's a really strange dynamic, thinking that Mitch Marner is going to make more money than Leon Draisaitl when he's only 3/4 a player. Marner's a hell of a hockey player, but he's not Leon Draisaitl. You know, how much more money is McDavid going to get because of this thing going up? Because his deal's up next year, I believe, right? So how much this is going to help him? But in general, it's not going to help all these other guys. It's going to push your first $20 million player. Probably all this is going to do. It's not going to help the third line winger. He's still going to make the extra, like, the $3 or $4 million, and that's it. So I don't know. It's just odd. The National Hockey League. It's it's the league. It's in better shape financially than it's ever been. It's just the product isn't as good as it used to be. I still love it, still watch the game a lot, but it's just funny that this drama in Vancouver. I can't get over that two grown men couldn't work the deal out. And like I said, there were some other things that were happening, but how two grown men could tear a hockey team apart like this. Now it's schoolyard crap. It just doesn't make sense to me how this all came about. But anyways, there it is, another edition of 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. Thanks everybody who listens to the show. Follow, like, retweet, follow us on Instagram. I'm trying to get on there a little bit more. A little bit busy with the old Bullhorn Leopards Bulls baseball report as well, but got a lot going on. But thank you very much for listening to the show. Follow all the other shows that I talk about. Fan of the Van, obviously, Two Dudes of Sports News. Make sure you guys give them a listen, because they put in a lot of good work. A lot of good content comes out all the time from those guys. E-Man over at Average Joe Sports, he's always a good for a laugh too. So make sure there's always lots of other good sports podcasts, not just in the Belly Up Network, but just everywhere as well. But yeah, check out bellyupsports.com. Go there for all your news. A lot of great young writers on there that are going to be making her big someday, that are getting their start with Belly Up Sports. So make sure you go and check those guys out, like today or tomorrow or whenever you listen to this and read an article. See if you do two things at once. Anyways, that's the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 beer sports talk and a whole lot more. Righteous Felon and SeatGeek. Use code BELLYUP for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek, and then 15% off over there at Righteous Felon. Have yourself a great day, folks. And remember, it doesn't matter where you are. It's who you're with. Have a day, and we will talk to you soon. Cheers.